I'm waiting for this screen to change for me. Hello, everybody. Um, Sorry, no notice or anything. I was supposed to go live the other day, and then due to work and other things, I wasn't able to. And there's like no notice for today, so chances are I'm going to do this video and nobody's even going to be here. That I'll just be talking to myself, but people can watch it later. Don't have to be on live. I wanted to give a summary of Marni Yang's court hearing that was this past Monday that I attended. And I don't even know if I'm going to be able to read this myself. These are my notes that I took while in the courtroom. And now with it being a couple days afterwards, we'll see if I I remember everything. Yikes. Oh, sorry. Somebody just sent me something that's hysterical. Um Okay. I have to put my glasses on, even though these aren't my real glasses. I went to an eye doctor, because I've been diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, and my doctor wanted me to go to a real doctor to have my eyes checked. And so I need a whole new prescription and stuff for glasses. So, um, I'm waiting for them to be done so I can get them. All right, Marni Yang case. Sorry, I know. I get so distracted on things. So, we've had a whole bunch of hearings where date keeps being pushed, date keeps being pushed, date keeps being pushed. And this one was a little different, but a lot of the same. Um, because now we just got another date. So what is happening in Marni's case, like so many wrongful conviction cases, is there's all this new evidence, or slash, however you want to call it, new evidence, and stuff showing that things weren't done correctly the first time around. And so Marni's team isn't even saying let her out right now. And her attorney, Jed Stone, even said that at the hearing, not asking you to open the prison door right now, even though everybody would like that. And that should happen because Marni Yang is innocent. But we're just trying to get the new evidence back into court, and to then get a ruling of either getting a whole new trial or then let her out. But we just want to show the evidence. And I still always hate when you're going back to the same judge over and over. Same judge, same judge, same judge. And, so you're not always going to get a judge that will go, oh, this is wrong, we should fix this. A lot of times these people are just set in, this was my order and this is the way it's gonna be. Maybe after I've got so many friends who are lawyers and they're actually running for judge in this next election. I wonder if I could organize something, if they would be able to speak to that. I don't know if they can or not, but I'm gonna bring it up. So in the hearing this week, well, first of all, let me say that Marni's dad, Larry, he's not able to get himself to the courthouse, so I went and picked him up and brought him to the courthouse. How annoying too, because when we got there plenty early and plenty of time. And Larry is like, I'd like a cup of coffee. So you think courthouse is going to sell coffee, right? Um, so I asked somebody, where's coffee? And they're like, so it turns out this courthouse is two buildings across, but it goes across the street. And so then there's this bridge thing that goes across the street so then we had to take an elevator up to the second floor, then walk across the bridge and go all the way down to this cafe. Now, again, Larry is walking with a walker. Um, and we have to do all this walking to get down to this cafe. But so we get in there and go up to the people there, and it's like, okay, I'd like a coffee, and they're like, oh, we're not selling any coffee now. It's like, what? And she says, the only place you can get coffee is at the entrance, which is not the entrance we came in at. So the entrance for this second building. So at the entrance, there's a Starbucks inside the entry. And so that's where you can get the coffee. So it's like, okay, so now Larry and I got to walk all the way over to there where that Starbucks counter, nobody's there. And there's a handwritten sign on the counter saying, we're at lunch. We'll be back at 1:45. And Marnie's hearing was at 2 o'clock. And now we have to go all the way back to the opposite side of that building, get in the elevator, go down to the first floor, um, and then we have to walk around, get to another elevator to go up to the sixth floor or whatever it was sixth floor where Marnie's courtroom was. And so Larry never got his coffee. I don't drink coffee, so it's no big deal for me, but I know so many people are coffee is life. So yeah, that was annoying. Um there weren't very many people in the courtroom. The court there is hybrid still, so people were able to attend on Zoom or they could be there in person. I have attended all the past ones by Zoom, but it is so hard to hear what's happening. The camera is so it's a laptop on the judge's desk or whatever. And so it's pointing only at the judge so you don't see the attorneys or anything. They're not mic'd, and I just would have such a hard time on Zoom understanding what's going on. But as soon as I had heard that uh, Marnie was being transported to court, I had asked um, Marnie's dad, can I attend in person? Because you would think you would like to have somebody there that right? And so it was, yeah, people can go in person. And then I had also talked to Marnie's attorney, and he gave me the information of going in person, and then find out Larry doesn't have a way to get there. I get him. So inside it, the people in attendance were myself and Larry, and then Steve, who is one of the detectives with the case. Love him. Steve is a great guy. And then Marnie's twins came, and then there were maybe 5 different people from the press there. They were letting press sit in a jury box since there's no jury. And then there were a few other people sitting in the audience side, but they were really young people and they had like notebooks and stuff. So I know a lot of times like students and stuff go in there. So I don't know who they are, but I don't think they're affiliated with the um, victim's family or the prosecution or anything like that. But so it really wasn't that many people. There was a whole bunch of people on Zoom, and I saw that there was several different press outlets that were on Zoom. I found this interesting. I saw somebody with the screen name of Jax. So don't know if that was somebody It's not like Jax is a common name. So I just thought it was kind of weird that there was a Jax on there, but I'm sitting in the courtroom. Um, Let me look at my notes right here. All right, yeah, something I want to say is that Marnie had her health hasn't been great, and just like her dad, she uses a walker. And to this judge's credit, um, Marnie's attorney, Jed Stone, did ask the court if Marnie's restraints would be able to be removed so she would be able to walk better, since she's using a walker. And the judge did allow that, which was awesome. Now the judge said he's got no control over the jail because Marnie's prison is like a 4.5 hour drive from the courthouse. So she had to be transported up, days prior to the court date, and then they house her in the jail, which I know from Melissa Kaluzinski, because Melissa Kaluzinski's case is all the same people and stuff that's involved in Marnie's case, the same corrupt people. So it's the same courthouse, it's the same jail, so county jail. And Melissa way prefers prison to jail. Jail sucks. But it's a necessary evil, and if you're able to get your case back into court, you're going to have to go back to county jail. So I'm guessing by the judge saying that he has no control over the jail, that the jail didn't allow her restraints to be removed for her to be able to walk with her walker. So lovely. So the state goes first. And I've just taken, little notes of things that were said, of any interest. So one of the things he said, the assistant district attorney, was that Marnie was bragging in the false confession about what she did. That's not true. He was focusing a lot about where that Marnie had said she was going to make shit up. And he's claiming that if you listen to in its entirety her conversation with her alleged friend Christy Passion, that when Marnie is saying she's going to make shit up, it was about the rental car and the burner phone that she had. But there's also calls that she had with her father and her mother that Marnie had prior to this, and her parents were divorced. So these are two separate phone calls, and she had said to both of her parents she was going to make shit up. The law enforcement had tapped all of her phones and had been listening. Marnie was and her kids were under constant surveillance. So they know these phone calls she had with both her mother and her father, saying the same things that they're saying she said to Christy Passion of she's going to make shit up. Everybody complains that they don't understand why somebody would confess to doing something, especially a murder, if they are innocent. In Marnie's case, they were going after her 16-year-old son. And this wasn't the first time. They had, because I'm bad with numbers, I don't know how long it had been since Ronnie Ryder and Skylar Ryder were murdered. But it was like a year. So they had focused on Andrew at one point, and made his life a living hell. A 16-year-old boy going to his high school and stuff and telling people that Andrew killed somebody. So, I mean, so the kid had like a nervous breakdown from this harassment by police. And now here it is a year later, and they're circling back around. And Christy Passion, the friend, was taken in for questioning, and she tells Marni they're going to arrest Andrew. So that's when now Marni is telling her dad and her mother she's going to make shit up. Marni just wanted them to stop torturing her son. Her dad told her don't do that. She didn't listen to her dad. So another thing that was they talked a lot about is undeveloped photos. And so there were, I want to say there was 5 canisters of film. Now remember, this case is from 13 years ago. 13 years ago, longer. Again, bad with dates. 15 years ago, I don't know. You know, you used cameras with film back then. So there were 5 canisters of film that law enforcement took of the crime scene that had not been developed until Marni Yang's now defense team found out about it and got these pictures. The state is trying to say the forensic experts in this case, as well as the famed what is his title? Is he a medical examiner, Cyril Wecht? They're claiming that they're basing their evidence, thoughts, however you want to say it, on these pictures that they're saying, yep, because remember, you can't get a case back into court unless you have something new. So they're trying to say this evidence always existed. This isn't new. And trying to say that these people saw these pictures and that's what you're making your opinions on. But no, it's not these 5 undeveloped canisters of film what they were basing everything on. Something I thought was interesting that the ADA said was, and I can't remember what it was that he was talking about, but he said it never happened, but even if it did. This is supposed to be about facts, and you just totally contradict yourselves there. Never happened, but even if it did, blah, blah, blah. Thought that was dumb. Then when Jed got up there, he talked about the 5 undeveloped rolls of film, and he said those pictures, once they were developed, they just confirmed our experts' theory. They didn't make their theory on those photographs. Big thing that the state wants tossed is the prosecutor in Marni's original case, Pat Fix. She think Brendan Dassey on what was done to Brendan Dassey, okay? It was done to Emily Yang, Marni's daughter, who was 16 at the time. And this person made, or I guess this prosecution could play semantics because it's like, didn't make her, coerced her, however you want to say it, into giving false testimony. Which I think is a very important thing to know in this whole thing if the prosecutor is making a 16-year-old girl lie on the stand. And so the state really wants that thrown out, especially because that prosecutor is now a judge at that very courthouse. Jed pointed out that Sean Gale, the victim's baby daddy, um, he lied about his alibi the morning it happened. You know, um, barber shops, especially in the black community, are a big thing. I go to get my hair cut, I go get my hair cut and I leave. But it's a whole social thing at the barber shop. I love the barber shop movies, by the way. Um, and beauty shop is good too. Um, so it becomes a, regular thing and when you go and all that. And um this murder occurred early in the morning on a work day. Sean Gale was never at this barber shop early in the morning. But on this day, that's where he claimed he was. And let me see, do I have the times written on here? So he was claiming he was at the barber shop at 8:30 a.m. But he was not. And there is evidence to prove that Sean Gale wasn't at the barber shop until 10 a.m. Jed also pointed out that the make shit up calls were done the weekend before that Marni met with Christy Passion at the Denny's. When the state got to get back up there, he worded it as mirror image statement of parents. Marni said the same thing to both parents 2 different times. You can try and downplay it and make it sound like it's planned or whatever, but no, she's just telling her mom, I'm going to make shit up. Telling her dad, she's going to make shit up. Whatever. And then he also said it is absolutely ridiculous to call this a false confession. The last thing that I wrote that I found of interest is the prosecutor, the ADA, said something about Marni kicking the victim's arm. And also claimed that Marni said that she did that. That is not what Marni's coerced confession said. And, when you're putting somebody in prison for the rest of their life, I expect you to have the facts correct. And what's in her false confession, when she's telling this wild story to Christy Passion on how she allegedly shot Ronnie Ryder, and then at the end of it, she's saying Ronnie took, this one last kick at trying to kick Marni, and then Marni kicked her leg away. So, first of all, he should have that correct, that it's leg, not arm. But then also, when you look at the science and the facts, that never happened. Arm, foot, nothing. And I really wish people would get this stuff correct, because I can't tell you how many true crime things are out there on Marni's case where they say that one of the last things the victim did, she was found cradling her pregnant belly. So her arms were across her pregnant belly. I have seen the crime photos. She is on her stomach. She is laying on her stomach, hand up here, hand up here. One hand's got her keys in because she was walking out her door to go to work. So one hand had her keys in it and the other hand had a bag in it. Her hands are up, not over her belly. She's laying on her belly. But I know they're saying those things for dramatic effect, trying to make Marnie look to be, even more of a monster and to make the victim more sympathetic. And I'm not taking anything away from the victim because this was an awful crime done to this woman and her unborn child. Um, so I'm not speaking ill of her at all. But as usual, it's people like me who are the ones that care about justice for that victim, and you want who really did it to them to have to pay for it. So you have to get the facts correct. And so she is laying on her stomach with her arms out in a pool of blood. It's blood all over. There's no bloody footprints. There's no swipe marks like her body had moved or anything. I mean, the way this poor woman was shot, it's lights out. Um, so those things didn't happen. Um, so what was going on here at this hearing is an evidentiary hearing. There are items of Marnie's case that are already agreed upon by the state and the defense to go to an evidentiary hearing. These things that they were talking about this week are the things the state doesn't want in. So now we have a new court date of January 22nd. And that's when the judge is going to rule on which of these items can be brought to the evidentiary hearing or not. So, and January 22nd, turns out, is Marnie's twin's birthday. So, Marnie will be brought up again for court. I'm going to arrange to get the day off of work on the 22nd so I can attend it. And we will go from there. So I did get yesterday, I got a lovely email from Marnie thanking me for going to court and taking her dad. Oh, and I should talk about that too. That was really sad. That was a tear moment. It was as soon as Marnie was brought into the courtroom, poor Larry, her dad, just his instant response to seeing her, and he wanted to go to her. And then that's when the sheriffs are like, no, you can't go by her. And then, and so I said to them, he can't hear you. And so they went over and explained to him, and it's like Larry just wanted to hug his daughter. And then at the end of the hearing today, Marnie's attorney did request from the judge if her dad and her son and daughter could give her a hug. And the judge said no, but he did give them the opportunity to speak for a couple of minutes. So they got to sit in like the front row right behind where Marnie was at the lawyer's table and talk to her a little bit before she was taken away and then sent her 4.5-hour drive back to her prison. So, so it's bittersweet, and her kids haven't seen her in years. And I don't know when's the last time Larry saw her. I brought him to the prison, but it's been a while because his health isn't great, so he can't handle that drive. Yeah. So that was it for the Marni Yang case for this past week. If you ever have any questions on her case, you can post it in here at Justice with Jax. You can email me at justicewithjax@gmail.com. I know everything out there on Marnie's case says that she's guilty. I'm telling you, she's not. Here's my husband pulling in right now as I'm summing this up. So, all right, I am going to go and have dinner with my husband. And if anything else develops in Marnie's case, or if we hear something on Melissa's case, knock on wood, let's go, Melissa. And then also, we're waiting for something on Stephen Avery's case. Justice with Jax is where I can talk to you about any case. Stephen Avery Project is where we focus on the Stephen Avery case. And then we share that stuff over here on the Justice with Jax. All right, I'm gone. Thank you, everybody. Investigation continues.